hot. Switching over. Welcome into hardcore Penn State football. Penn State takes care of UCLA 27-11 in what may have been one of the most boring games I've ever attended. But Penn State, most importantly, improves to 5-0. They are the only team to go 5-0 in the past 4 consecutive seasons. With a big game looming on Saturday against USC on the road, we will break down the UCLA game, figure out where we need to improve, and slowly but surely turn our attention to the Trojans. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on a podcast platform. And if you are on YouTube, say hello and make sure to like the video. Let's get right into it. Welcome into hardcore Penn State football. I'm Cory Lestochi. With me, as always, the great Shawn Kane. Shawn, welcome back to the show. We missed you.
Thank you. You did a good job with Donnie. Yeah, I like the football.
You like that?
Yeah.
Let's get ready to rumble. You know what I mean?
You're trying to get the guys up for Saturday, something they haven't been able to do all year. Come out of the gate fast.
Exactly. We're coming out of the gate jacked up. I was, getting ready for the show tonight. And I don't know, Shawn, maybe it's because, this is, in my opinion, the beginning of the season, but I'm all jacked up Mountain Dew.
Yeah, I mean, we said at the beginning of the season that it's really going to be cut up into 3 parts, right? Early part of the season, we knew we'd have a couple tests. We knew, but we should be able to handle them. We knew West Virginia would be somewhat of a challenge. I think we handled them a little bit better than we thought. Illinois ended up being better than we thought they'd be. And handled, we beat them. Played a lot better than them. Score was a little misleading. And then you knew we were going to get to that middle portion. That was really going to define the season. And that's where we're at right now. Just got by UCLA. And then USC got another bye. Wisconsin, Ohio State, Washington. And that probably tells you your season right there.
There was a question asked to James Franklin at the very end. And it basically was, you have done this part correctly, James. Right? You have been able to beat the teams you're supposed to beat. You've been able to get to 5-0, 4-0, but this is the next chunk. This is the part you've struggled with. How or what have you learned in the past to make sure that's better next time? And I mean, there isn't a great answer to it, but I think it's kind of what Penn State fans have expected from James Franklin. A lot of teams on Saturday lost the teams they weren't supposed to, whether it was Alabama, whether that was Tennessee, whether that was James Madison, of course, USC as well. Franklin-led teams don't typically do that, at least since COVID ended. But can he take the next step and now win games that are more, so they call it a coin toss? That's the question. And we've hit that part of the season, like you said. We did set up Penn State's 2020 football team almost like, 3 trimesters, if you will. That's kind of what we've got going on here. And this is going to be the test, Shawn. And I'm jacked up that we're finally here. Let's play some football.
Make some noise.
Dude, they played the cannonball thing like 70 times on Saturday.
And then
crowd was not loud, by the way. We were just chilling.
It seemed like a quiet noon game.
And I was just sitting there I sat up in the club with my gramps. So I just sat in the back and I just leaned back a little bit and just enjoyed it. Gave a couple claps, you know what I mean? Gave them a couple claps here and there, but
more so golf claps.
I had a couple piercing claps in there every once in a while.
All right. Yeah, some explosives.
Beautiful weather, though.
Yeah, it looked like a gorgeous day.
Fantastic weather. Shawn, I'll share one story of the game on Saturday.
That's kind of you.
So I was going into the game. I was kind of late because I was originally supposed to wear blue for my seats, but then decided to sit in the club with my Gramps, and he was white. So I was just started walking up, and I forgot to change shirts, so I had to go back to the truck and change shirts. So I was a little bit late. I think I got to Curtin right around 11:30, 11:40ish. The line for the club was all the way into the street where the student section was, and the lines were bad there. So there's a big conglomerate of people there, and it was a problem. They should probably do something with the club line at some point. But I'm in line, I'm waiting. I just like it's gonna take about 20 minutes. I'm probably gonna miss everything leading up to kickoff, maybe even kickoff, but whatever, not a big deal. So I decided to wait in line and wait my turn. As I'm standing there in line, I see these two guys come up, and they kind of go up to where the tent is there, and they look back and they see the line, and they're kind of contemplating. I can see the wheels turning, right? Where they're like, do we wait in line? Do we have time to wait in line? Should we just cut in because no one's really policing anything in here? You can see the wheels turn, and they're trying to figure out what they want to do. Basically, just trying to figure out if they want to be assholes or not. Is what it kind of comes down to. And so I'm sitting there, and I was kind of talking to the people in front of us a little bit, just casually, and they started, instead of like just jumping in or going to the back, they kind of just stood there and just slowly tried to like assimilate themselves in.
Oh, that's a smart move if you're going to go down that path.
That's right. Which
if you're going to choose to be like that.
If you're going to choose to be like that, which I'll get to that in a second. And so I just kindly reminded them, or maybe I wasn't sure if they were aware. I said, hey, just so you guys know, the line does start back there, just so you're aware. And their guys are like, oh yeah, thanks. We're just standing here. And I was like, well, it doesn't really seem like you're standing here. It kind of seems like you're trying to get in. And they're like, no, we're just kind of standing here. And why does it really matter? Is what he said back to me. Not a big why does it matter kind of person. I feel like everything kind of matters. So, I'm kind of like James Franklin in that sense that all the little things do matter. And so the guy in front of me goes, this is the turning point in the conversation where you have to decide if it's worth it or not. That's what he said to me. And I was like, you're absolutely right. And I'm like, to be honest with you, I don't care that much. I would just like them to admit that they're assholes. Just say, you know what? I have declared that I am indeed an asshole, and I want to cut the line, and I just want to, just take my spot. And I've been like, that's all right. Go ahead, because I don't care that much. Just want you to know that you are being an asshole. We were having that conversation pretty loud, and they agreed. They were laughing. They were having fun. These other guys obviously heard it as well, and they started chirping and saying, oh, there's no proof that this is the line, and that's not the line, and there's people over there cutting as if that matters. All sorts of, crazy stuff. The guy called me 50 years old, which I thought was hysterical. Like that was an insult.
How old was this guy?
This guy, the one guy was older. The one guy was like 21 on the dot.
Okay. All
right. Which he had to tell me that because I guess he thought he was way younger than me. But either way, my favorite thing though, and I want to point out the 50-year-old thing because it comes up later. Is I was like, I don't understand how calling someone 50-year-old is an insult, but whatever. So we chirped back and forth a little bit, and then they thought they were being nice by letting me go in front of them after they cut me, which that's one way of looking at it, I suppose. That's something the NCAA would do as far as like a rule statement, is like trying to make themselves seem like the good people after they screwed everybody. So anyway, we get into the stadium, whatever. They end up cutting probably about 200 people when it's all said and done. But that doesn't matter. So anyway, I go use the restroom, and I'm going back to my seat, and this guy stops me, and he's like, he shakes my hand. And he goes, I just want to like say thank you and congratulate you for how you handle those assholes. He's like, I'm 50 years old. When he made that 50-year-old joke, I wanted to turn around and say something, but you handled that perfectly. And whatever the case is, you did a good job. So the point of the story is, look, you 100% in this world in life can be an asshole and take advantage of situations and get away with it and probably do fine in your life. But at least just own up to the fact that you're being one. I think we all can be assholes at times in our lives. I'm not saying those guys are probably even that bad of guys. I mean, they might be, but we all can be assholes. But just, you know what, when you cut someone off, just be like, yeah, look, I was the asshole. Sorry.
Yeah, people don't want to admit when they're being assholes for sure. I mean, but like you said, it could get you far. I mean, you could end up owning Twitter, and jump around like a crazy person.
And I've probably been
But
an asshole on Twitter with the hardcore Penn State football account a couple times, which I think I was when
yeah,
the AP poll. Did you see my tweet about the whole AP poll? I tweeted that guy.
yes, that's become almost like a weekly tradition for you.
Yeah.
Let's
Well,
see who disrespects Penn State the most. We tweet at them.
and again, it does. And then that. So for people that don't,
And you were right about that too. That was it's freaking. I don't know how some of these people get a vote.
No, there's no this guy. So people that don't follow us on X or aren't on X,
Yeah.
what had happened was, I actually think Corey Geyer tweeted about it first because he's like, this guy has Penn State 8 and he has Bama, Tennessee, and Alabama all
makes
ahead.
No sense.
And I honestly don't care where you have Penn State. Just to be very clear, it's all going to work itself out. That's fine.
Right now. Yeah.
But the thing is, this guy from the Tampa Bay Tribune or what Times, whatever it is down there, I think he's from Indiana originally. So like just a carpetbagger mentality. Like I don't think he was originally an SEC homer, but he's just doing it for attention at this point. Maybe some additional clicks. I'm not sure. But again, you can have Tennessee and Alabama wherever you want. The problem I had was his reasoning. And his reasoning was, for people that didn't see, was that Tennessee lost to an Arkansas team that had a very good close loss to a Texas A&M team that is now good because they blew out Missouri. That was his explanation for that. As if, oh, and by the way, Penn State almost lost to Bowling Green, so they can't be good. He said all that in his article that I read for you, so you didn't have to. And then he comes back and says that the A&M is a good loss for Arkansas, as if A&M didn't also almost lose to Bowling Green. And oh, by the way, that Missouri team's not very good. I've been trying to tell you guys that for weeks. Crazy. So yeah, I called him out. He never responded. I purposely mentioned him to give an opportunity. I think it's always fair to mention the person so they have a chance to respond. And they elected not to.
Yeah, and that's his right. But yeah, I don't know how some of these people get a vote for that, for the Heisman.
Terrible.
I don't know, because you see absurd Heisman ballots every year too. MLB Hall of Fame. Don't even get me started with the MLB Hall of Fame and
rest in peace, Pete Rose.
Sense. Yes, rest in peace, Pete Rose. Just like for all you baseball fans here, how David by the way, I'm a Yankee fan, so I'm not a fan of David Ortiz. How he gets in, but none of the other steroid guys get in. Makes no sense to me at all. That's even more effed up than anything else.
We completely buried the lead, but Penn State
won. Did. Yeah, we
Penn
won.
State beat UCLA 27-11. Shawn, I wasn't lying on the intro there. One of the most boring games I've ever watched in person for Penn State. 0 takeaways. I think they had maybe 4 big plays in the game. UCLA had 1. We had 3 big passes to Clifford. And I think that's it. Maybe the Trey Wallace catch and run may have technically qualified as a big play. But otherwise, no Nick Singleton. So the plays were limited, which, by the way, can we talk about that first? I had that on the intro. Nick Singleton did not play in this football game, Shawn. I said on the Wednesday show that I did not expect Nick Singleton to play. He didn't play. However, James Franklin told us that he was expecting Nick Singleton to play all the way up to kick, which Drew Aller goes as far as saying he didn't know Nick Singleton wasn't playing until Katron Allen was next to him when they were lining up after they had broken the huddle. Do you believe any of that? How, if you do, how is that not a complete indictment on the lack of communication within the program?
Yeah, I agree. I thought the same. I could see Franklin not knowing if a guy's a game time decision, but he's leaning toward yes. Sometimes that happens in warmups. You're just like, yeah, he's not going to go. I don't know how it didn't come up in the locker room. Oh, yeah, we're not going to have Singleton today. I thought it would just kind of come up in conversation.
Did anybody tell Andy Kotelnicki?
Yeah, did Quentin Martin not know? Was he just standing around being like, well, when's Nick getting in? Oh, I'm going in. Did he know? Yeah, I don't know how that I tend to be a little skeptical of it. But who knows? But yeah, it really tells you something about like communicating. I know they don't like communicating with the public about injuries. Do they communicate with the team about injuries?
I don't. Nobody
Does
knows.
anybody know?
It's in a vault. So Nick Singleton didn't play, Shawn, and so Katron Allen got the start and had probably the most Katron Allen game that you could expect. Donnie Collins mentioned it. Like, are they going to just use Katron Allen as a battering ram and just win the game and just move on? And that's literally kind of what happened. To a T. Katron Allen ends up here with 21 carries for 78 yards, averages 3.7 yards per carry. His longest run was 11 yards and he has 1 touchdown. He also caught 1 pass for 1 yard. The most Katron Allen game. And almost literally Spartan kicked an official, which yes. I wonder if that's going to be
mistake.
The referee did his film because as soon as he saw Katron Allen score and the team started coming together, the official was like, "Oh, hell no. You're not doing this in my end zone." And immediately started heading over there. But before he could get there, the kicking had already commenced.
Yeah, he almost took one right to the grill. Yeah, you know, when I watched the game and just watching the press conference, yeah, it was a very ho-hum game. They seem okay with it, though. You know, it's not that I'm sure guys will get ripped in film as they do every week, but I think they kind of took the approach, all right, we're not going to have Singleton today, so obviously we're not going to be as explosive as we could be. Let's just get through this. Whatever happens, happens. And go on to USC. I don't think they seem all that concerned. They also did some things that were good. There were no stupid penalties. I think it's the first game this year without a dumb penalty, which definitely which helps. Like there is the hold on Dawkins, but that's not really a dumb penalty. That's more of an effort thing, and you could live with that. You're going to get called for holding sometimes. That's fine. Not every play, but if you get called for a hold once in a while, not a big deal. But there's no jumping off sides. There wasn't the dumb
DJO, baby.
Yes, there wasn't the dumb personal fouls, unnecessary roughing, none of that. So that was one positive thing. But I mean, if we're going to talk about something that keeps coming up, got off to another slow start.
Will you get DJO tattooed somewhere on your body if Penn State goes, what would it be, 17-0? Is that what it needs now to win it all?
What's DJO mean?
You didn't see the big sign on the sideline that Penn State had? They had a big DJO.
What's the stand for?
I posted it on Twitter. Don't jump off sides.
Oh,
I'm assuming that's what it is. That might not mean that. I'm assuming that's what it meant because they were holding it up when they were on defense.
Well, whatever works because they didn't do it.
DJO. Yeah, there's a picture we posted on X. And I'm assuming that's what it means. There's some other ones like just do your job, maybe. I don't know.
I hope it's don't jump offside.
Do your own job. I don't know. It's a hard acronym to not have. Don't jump off sides. I don't know. But regardless, if they what would they need? They get a first round bye, so quarterfinal, semifinal, final. So they would need to go 16-0 to win a championship. If they went 16-0, Shawn, are you willing to pledge right now on this podcast that you'll get DJOs tattooed somewhere on your body?
If they do it every week, sure. I think you'll be able to convince me to do a lot of things if they go undefeated and win a national championship. Okay. So
I think I'd be willing to do that as well.
Yes.
So anyway, yes, you're right. No offsides penalties. I'm assuming because of the sign.
Yeah, it has to be the sign. And they were practicing with that this week too. You saw them do different drills to work on not jumping. So it obviously has been an emphasis. I know Brandon
Bacco on X goes, if Penn State beats Ohio State in DJO, I'll get it tattooed on my leg.
Wow, so all you need is an Ohio State win. I respect
There you
go.
Shawn, one thing about the offside thing. UCLA had a backup quarterback in Martin. Didn't have Ethan Garbers in this game. I think it actually benefited them. I think Martin's good. He's like 220, 240, 6'4". He's a good looking guy from a size perspective. Didn't think they went hard count very often. And so there wasn't as many opportunities for the DJO. However, Penn State was sometimes just lining up offsides, even regardless of the snap count. But they didn't use as much hard count as I would expect in future opponents.
Yeah, and it's harder to do a hard count on the road. So, and then you factor in a young quarterback, and I agree with you. I thought the quarterback played well. I thought we made it easy for him at times. I thought the enemy had a good plan. Just kind of, they just took what we were giving, and again, it was sort of like not when they were going deep against us, but sort of when Bowling Green was just kind of picking up little chunks at a time. Illinois did the same thing. We were leaving in the middle of the field a little open, and UCLA did take advantage. And you got to give, a young guy who hasn't played yet in college, he was able to take it. Didn't get greedy at all. But the problem with UCLA was when they get to the red zone, that's when things would start to fall apart a little bit, except when we had our backups in. Let me ask you this, Corey, because I think I know my answer on this. If the backups didn't give up that last touchdown, would you feel a little bit better about the game? I probably would.
I think so. I think it was just the manner at which they scored that drive. 8 minutes, 16 plays. Yeah. I mean, they really dinked and dunked it, and Penn State was willing to do it. So it was a slow burn for me that hurt me. Also, we'll probably talk about this tonight, but the fact that they had an 8-minute drive really prevented Penn State from getting some additional points later in the game, where they would maybe have a chance to run up the score a little bit when the talent and disparity in the depth chart really proves in those final 8 to 10 minutes, where it can go from a 27-3 game to a 41-3 game very quickly. They didn't have that opportunity because UCLA was like, we are going to nickel and dime it down the field. And if we score, we score. If we don't, we don't. But we're not going to let you embarrass us. And it worked. But it was the way they went down the field. The linebackers really struggled, and they scored. And then, honestly, the 2-point conversion, there was, in my opinion, no effort in stopping it. And so that was kind of like it was a distasteful moment. So it did play a factor to me. And again, not necessarily just because of the defense, but just because we didn't see the offense anymore in that fourth quarter, when I think they could have maybe padded some stats a little bit. And I think the talking points coming out of this game as far as the offense goes would be different if they score another touchdown or two if they got the ball back in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, 34-3 game. It just meant mentally for us feels a lot better than 27-11. Even though I think 34-3 would be a better representation of how the game actually went.
UCLA had more rushing yards than Penn State on Saturday.
Yeah, they didn't play a bad game by any stretch. They, like I said, their poise really stuck out to me. And really, the reason UCLA is such a mess, I don't even really put this on their coaching staff. It's that Chip just left in the middle of the night and didn't really recruit the last 2 years. So he left a total mess. And it's going to take a while for them to clean it up. But there's a solid coaching staff there. Eric Bieniemy has won Super Bowls as an offensive coordinator.
I can't believe he's there. I don't know how that happens.
I don't know either. I think there are things about Eric Bieniemy's past that really scares some NFL teams. But if it didn't, he'd probably be a head coach. From what I understand too, he could be a bit of a prickly pear. Just fine as an OC, but teams are shying away from that as a head coach. And in Kansas City, he was able to do that because Andy Reid, everybody just loves Andy Reid. But yeah, like I said, I thought he called a good game on Saturday. It's just they couldn't really get it going when they got closer to our red zone. And then I thought going for it early was a mistake. I thought you take the points there. I didn't really understand that, but
I'm okay with it. What I would think though is, well, by the way, just to end the red zone conversation, Penn State's only allowing touchdowns in the red zone 42% of the time right now, which is 15th best in the country. I don't mind them going for it, Shawn, but then they didn't stay aggressive either. So like at the end of the half there, they had that big run for a first down there at like the 40-yard line. And they just decided to go to the half with like 20 seconds left and a timeout. Like, you can't go for a 4th and 1 in the maroon red zone area and then not try to score right before the half. That's two different messages, in my opinion.
Yeah, and in my opinion, you have less to lose if you go for it a little bit with 20 seconds left. Like, could you throw an interception? I mean, you could, but there's more of a chance of something good happening. So, especially with the way they were throwing the ball.
Right. Yeah, and they had Penn State kind of where they wanted them there for a second. So I agree with that. I got a long list of things to get to on that. Wanted to do injuries before we go to the film room, Shawn.
Yeah.
And then maybe we can let the fan questions drive us a little bit again. Injury updates. So, and I'll show the play because I have the play. Right tackle Anthony Dunka came out in the first quarter with an apparent shoulder injury. Did not get an update yet. Probably will have maybe something on the Wednesday pod. Franklin kind of has coined the Wednesday practice as the injury update practice, if you can call it an injury update, because he doesn't have enough information on the Monday presser. So we'll find out about Dunka. I thought Nolan Rucci did an admirable job there. They're not Caden Wallace and Olu, right? They're just not. But they're holding their own.
I think Dunka could be, but not yet.
Right.
Force is strong with him, but he's not a Jedi yet.
Exactly. There was a question about Kobe King because Tyler Elsdon was out there so much. Kobe King had his helmet. He was engaged in when the defense was on the field. I don't think anything's wrong with him. I think they were just trying to get Tyler Elsdon some rep. But also, if we saw anything from Saturday, we have realized Tyler Elsdon probably cannot be on the field very much from this point forward against better talent. And so I think they realize they're going to need Kobe King on the field a lot from this point forward. And so getting him some rest there, I think, is a pretty smart idea. Caden Saunders, wide receiver, in a boot, which led to Spencer returning punts when there is no opportunity for a punt return, so punt safe situations. And then he also, Shawn, threw Zion Tracy out there, blocking the back himself. Not Zion Tracy scared me a little bit. I'm gonna be honest with you. For me, I feel like he is a boomer bust kind of guy, and I totally see why you put Spencer out there in a punt safe situation. Nervous that Zion Tracy, although he could prove me completely wrong by housing one at some point. Nervous about Zion Tracy and a potential turnover there at some point. I'm just gonna put that out in the universe early.
He's got to make a play to get people to stop thinking about the block in the back.
Yes,
because it's gonna just be in people's minds every time they see him. Yes, people being like psychos that are just remember penalties from weeks back, like us. Like, yes, it's gonna stick in their mind until he makes a play. And I think he's a talented guy, so it's gonna come. But I hear what you're saying though too, because and then he should have took a fair catch on the one punt. I don't know what he was thinking because he just set himself up to be lit up.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure. You kind of miss Caden Saunders, in my opinion.
Sure, of course. Miss him on offense, too.
I'm trying to think. One injury I don't think we've ever... well, let me just say two injuries. Two injuries we haven't talked a lot about, Shawn, at this point in the season that I would like to just bring up real quick because you and I were texting about it a little bit on Sunday. We really miss linebacker Keon Wiley. And I don't want to take credit for that because I think that's what you had texted. We really miss Keon Wiley at this point. Don't think Tamir Robinson on the outside is going to work. I just think he's just a little too slow. Keon Wiley, when he was healthy, did some good things, made some plays. And then they also missed defensive end Zariah Fisher to a certain degree. Denied Ennis Sutton and Abdul Carter, I thought had they're continuing to get some momentum. They're looking good, especially when they decide not to block Denied Ennis Sutton. I think that's a crazy idea. But Amin Vanover and Smith Vilbert haven't really flashed as much as I would want them to at this point. And so miss Fisher, the lack of linebacker depth. I miss Keon Wiley, and I guess you could also say I miss Jamil Lyons and Kavion Keys as well.
Yeah, I think the team does. it felt like every time Keon Wiley got on the field, he'd make a play and he'd make some kind of impact. And you just consider what happened with the depth. Now, another injury thing, guys coming back. Dom DeLuca was back this week. So that was positive. I knew he was in a cast. A week ago, I would assume he probably broke something in his hand or maybe even dislocated something. So typically you sit a week, you wrap it up real good, put it in a club, and you're good. And that evidently happened with him. But yeah, and then Zariah Fisher, he's another guy. When he gets in, plays well. But he's just hurt all the time. Vanover, he did make a play on Saturday. But I think it's fair to say that week in and week out, you want to get more from him and more from him and Smith Wilbur. They both flashed a little bit, but not enough. But great opportunity on Saturday in the City of Angels.
Big Ten country. Tim Ray on YouTube says 2 straight games where it could have been 27-7 and 27-3. They could have made it a lot prettier. Yeah. I think maybe that's I think it might have been Bill DiFilippo who had the good point of Penn State almost has to have more or prettier kind of games, and they have to look the part more because they haven't proven themselves in the big games. So like when Georgia doesn't look good, it's okay because Georgia has proven themselves in top 5, top 10 national championship matchups. Penn State has to kind of prove themselves in every game to convince people, because when they go up against Ohio State, they lose. And I think that's a pretty fair assessment and decent way of looking at it.
Yeah, and I mean, look at Michigan last year. They didn't look lights out in every game, but everybody knew, well, they just won the Big Ten back-to-back years. They've beaten Ohio State at the time 2 straight years. So and like you said, Georgia's another good example. Alabama people will be looking, well, maybe not like when Saban was there, but they'll still be looking for them to rebound because they're Bama and they beat Georgia. So Penn State, they need that marquee win. And really, unfortunately for Penn State, if they beat USC on Saturday, they're probably still not going to, don't expect the media to fall all over Penn State if they win on Saturday.
Are we doing this now? You want me to get fired up?
Let's just do it now because it came up.
Okay, that's fine.
Don't expect it. Because the media will say USC has 2 losses going in. They just lost to the Gophers. And they really wouldn't be that wrong. I still think it's an important win. It means something to go on the West Coast and win a game. Big Ten teams are, I forget what the exact stat is, 1-7, I believe, going through 2 different time zones. So, yeah, it still means something to go out and beat what I think is still a pretty good team, even though they have 2 losses. They could easily be undefeated right now if they didn't give the whole first half away at Michigan and they stopped Minnesota on the goal line. They are undefeated right now if they do those 2 things. So they are like literally 2 plays away from being
2
undefeated.
goal line plays. Seriously,
yes.
2 goal line plays.
So this is still a good football team that we're going to play.
Shawn, how can you say this is a good football team when they're not ranked in the top 25 in the AP poll? I mean, why are we even doing a podcast this week? James Franklin and company are going to win because James Franklin isn't playing against a top 25 team. He's not playing against a top 10 team. Haven't you seen his record versus unranked teams compared to his record versus top 25 teams and top 10 teams? Now that USC is not ranked, there's not going to be an issue here. Penn State's going to roll. Why are we even talking about this?
Right.
Do you know how stupid that sounds? Can we not find a better way to measure coaching success than record versus AP top 25 and record versus AP top 10? As if the win or loss at Minnesota makes a difference on how good that team is going to be this week. Ridiculous. If USC finds a way to win that game, they are probably sitting at top 8, top 7 in the country. They lose that game, and now they're not even ranked. And so when Penn State goes on the road, and if they happen to win this game, James Franklin's not going to get credit for an AP top 25 win on the road. So when Penn State goes at home and loses Ohio State, people are going to say, can't beat ranked opponents. That's what we're going to do?
Yes, they will.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. USC is a good football team. This is a tough matchup this weekend and has nothing to do with where they're ranked in the AP poll.
Yep. I don't disagree. I think this is a good USC team they're playing. I think Lincoln Riley I think he has flaws. We've talked about that before. I know this is the USC preview, but he's had a bunch of he is the best quarterback coach, maybe in the world, honestly. Like all these Heisman Trophy winners he's had. But the problem is he's not a complete head coach. So I get it. And I think there's some trouble in paradise a little bit with them too. He's very combative with the press. So I don't think the vibes are great around the USC
so are we,
right
though,
now.
Shawn. So are
What's
we.
Up?
We're also combative with the press.
Oh, yeah, we are. But yeah, the vibe, like Bear Alexander left in the middle of the season. So the vibes aren't great around USC right now, but they're still a good team. This is a really good team we're going to be playing. They beat LSU. And like I said, if they don't give away the whole half at Michigan, they win that one too, because they outplayed them in the second half.
Dakota Straw on YouTube says, if Michigan can beat USC with 40 passing yards, I feel confident PSU can get it done. We'll talk more about all that in a second. Before I do, I just want to give a shout out here to Hidden Still Spirits. I'm having a little bit of it tonight. The blue and white bourbon, a huge amount of their proceeds from this specific bourbon goes to Penn State's NIL fund, a huge percentage. So they're located in Hershey. Go online though. I'm pretty sure they deliver it across the state. Go get you some. It's good bourbon, and it, like we always say, find ways to contribute to NIL that makes sense for you. Drinking is one for us. Let's get to film room.
Let's watch movies.
I'm gonna start off film room with well, let's show this. You like that?
That was nice.
I don't know how long that's been up there for. I just wanted to show this as a joke. Little Mahomesy here.
That guy knew it was coming too. It was funny. Drew did a nice job.
You're listening on a podcast. I'm showing Drew Aller's sidearm throw that Khalil Dinkins makes a hell of a catch.
Yeah, the catch is actually more impressive.
But of course, you had to go with, I think Joel Klatt said after this. Joel Klatt goes, like after this play, he goes, if you want to be a quarterback, you got to be playing middle infield and all this stuff. Like, why can't we just whatever? I thought it was funny. Posted on X. It didn't get as much love as I think it deserved, but that's okay. All right, let's look at some actual plays. Shawn, there's no question that I can only start with one play, right? I mean, we buried the lead long enough. The fact that we haven't talked about this yet is just a disservice. It's just a disservice to everybody. So early second quarter, Penn State's done this multiple times this year. They did it literally in the first game against West Virginia, but now it's getting national media attention. Lining up your 350-pound left guard, Vega Ione, in the slot, motioning him in, and just letting him decapitate the defensive end on the opposite play side there. Great hit. Obviously, the best part of this is the fact that he double taps him like he's a zombie. Like, oh, you're thinking about getting up? Not today. I mean, that's just awesome. He was interviewed after this play, and the reason he celebrates the way he does is because he thought maybe Katron Allen scored, but then he realized that the cheering was because everyone saw what he did. And then they replayed the hit, and then everybody went even more nuts. He also said that the amount of trust that Andy Kotelnicki has in him, he really appreciates that. And he actually said that big hit was for Andy Kotelnicki, for putting him in that position to let him do something like that. And Shawn, nobody loves big guys having fun more than me. I mean, this is fun football. And we might talk later on about this offense and if they're good or not. But nobody can knock that this is a fun offense. Are they the best offense in the country? No. Are they even top 10? Probably not. But they are a fun offense, and they're going to be a physical offense. And this is literally the definition, the epitome, the symbol of what Penn State wants to be this year.
Yeah, and you play better when you're having fun. It sounds simple, but it's very true. So when you're able to give your guys opportunities to do things that are a little unconventional, and Andy Kotelnicki will find ways to do things that are unconventional. It's kind of in his DNA. It almost drives me nuts sometimes, but you gotta love it. And right there, I mean, you can see him coming, and I think he's been close to blowing guys up like this year. People tend to just try to get out of the way because there's not much else they could do. But this guy, I don't think he sees him coming. I've been blocked like this before in practice when I was a freshman practicing with varsity. And I was like, during a scrimmage, I was like, I got a free shot at the quarterback. Fullback comes in and does exactly that to me. So I've been on the receiving end of something similar. Thank God the fullback was not 350 pounds coming at me, though.
They did mention that they did practice this play, and none of the players would mention it, but somebody at practice also did get laid out.
Yeah. Do you think, and I think it's a good thing that we're more physical this year, tougher team tends to always win. I think it has something to do with all the injuries.
No.
No?
Franklin was asked about that, and they said that they did some research into why this was happening more this year, and they didn't really find anything more than it was just been unfortunate. And I kind of agree.
The in-game stuff for sure, the in-game injuries, but injuries at practice, I don't know. I'm not ready to say one way or another, but
I just feel
the most
like
physical team we've had in a long, long time.
Yeah, I want to talk about that more in a second once we get out of film room. All right, let's go to. Man, don't want to get pissed off right away. Let's say positive. Probably the most positive play of the game, and positive player of the game. This is a big play in the game. UCLA's first drive, 4th and 1 from the 23-yard line, and Zaki Wheatley blows this play up, blows it up from the safety position. Had a hell of a game. Multiple tackles in or behind the line of scrimmage. Just really one of his best games as far as run support goes, and really took a step in the right direction, especially since I didn't think he had a great game in the Illinois game. So a rebound game, I think, really shows a lot about his nature and his willingness to get back in the arena and answer the bell. I really appreciate that. And he sticks his nose in here. What I want to mention here on this play is look where he starts and look how he's in the backfield before even Kobe King's in the backfield. So he sniffs this one out and is gone completely like, I don't know if this is a film room win where he knows they're going to run it, but he knew run right away. If they went play action, it's a touchdown. But he knew it was a run, and he literally got there before Jalen Reed. He got there before Kobe King. I mean, just incredible stuff by Zaki Wheatley, and really, really happy to see it, because if they can get that from him, and they already have what they have from Jalen Reed, now I'm getting a little bit feeling better about the safety positions when they say they have to play an Ohio State team that's going to try to run the football a lot.
Yeah, me too. This is this is the biggest play of the game in my mind. It felt like it was kind of downhill for UCLA after this. And Zaki Wheatley, this play, he nearly stripped the ball. He did strip the ball. It was nearly a forced fumble. along the sidelines a little later in the game too. So he was just making plays all over the field. I know he was one of the players of the week. I think Denai Dennis was the other guy on defense. And yeah, this is part of the reason he was. So him getting better in the run game is key for this team to be as successful on defense as we need them to be. And this is what we've been asking for from him. So good job by you, Zaki.
Let's go to the next play here. I'm just going to show this one real quick. Don't want to spend too much time on it. It's a third down play. First quarter. Penn State ends up mass protecting here. I mean, we've got what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys blocking. Now they do leak 2 backs out, but UCLA only rushes 3. They completely play coverage, and yet they can't block and protect Drew Allen. This is also the play where Anthony Dunca gets hurt, as you can see right there. I think, I don't know if that's Trey Wallace or Amari Evans on that deep post, but if Aller has more time, I think it's Wallace. If Aller has more time, Wallace is open deep. He throws his ball, honestly, probably lands at the numbers, and it's a touchdown. But isn't able to do it because of the pressure getting home way too quickly. Again, not a whole lot to say besides missed opportunity, but we've got to block better than that.
Yeah, this is one of the only times, and Dunca got hurt on the play, so that definitely contributed, I'm sure, that he's gotten badly beat this year. And Quint Martin really doesn't. He looks like me trying to chip block JTT on the chip. It just that's about what I would do. You got it. It's got to be better than that. And then, yeah, Dunca, it's the only, like I said, I can't really complain much about him this year, but he gets beat badly here. And yeah, I don't really put this on Drew for not being able to see Harrison Wallace because he's not even close to being open yet by the time he's trying to escape. So just a bad play all around, huge missed opportunity.
All right. I got 2 more plays. See if I can find it. All right. So this is the biggest play that UCLA had in the game on offense. It's just going to be a wheel route out of the backfield. Penn State actually gets a decent amount of pass rush on here. What happens is the tight end here in the middle of the field, he's blocking 2 Penn State players in a way right now. Definitely probably should have been offensive pass interference. Penn State's in man coverage. Nobody picks up the running back, as you can see right there. I agree that it's probably offensive pass interference, and I understand that, and that's fine. I still don't really understand why both linebackers are farting in the same Coke bottle.
Yeah,
that's the expression we like to use here. Like that should have never happened to begin with. In a way, Tamir Robinson 24 actually goes with him and never peels off of his guy. And honestly, even if Tamir Robinson is in better position, I don't know if Tamir Robinson has the speed right now to play outside linebacker. He got beat on another play on just a little quarterback read option and got beat to the corner basically. And then this play right here, just not in the right position, but didn't have the makeup speed either.
Yeah, we haven't been caught out of position too much this season, but here we are. Yeah, the first thing that, when I watched it, whenever you see a guy just flash wide open like that, unless the cornerback slipped, it means 9 times out of 10 somebody's covering. Somebody's not in the right coverage. It looks like that's looks like that's Robinson there. So yeah, just a bad play all around. Biggest problem is you shouldn't have 2 guys when you're in man. You shouldn't have 2 guys on 1 guy. It's not man's coverage.
Unless it's Jeremiah Smith from Ohio State, then.
Well, yeah, then you double team him all the time. I'll bet he'll be fine preparing for.
I'm only going to do one of these plays because I could probably do like 17 of them. But I'm only going to do one Tyler Elsdon play. Tyler Elsdon had his worst game on Saturday of his career. It was really bad. I actually thought he's had a pretty good season so far relative to Tyler Elsdon standards. This is a terrible play. A terrible couple drives for Tyler Elsdon in the second half. So here we go. 2nd and 12. Kind of an obvious, running situation here. Make up some ground. First thing I want you to notice before I even hit play on this, and this has been a critique I've had on Tyler Elsdon for years now. He's always lined up a yard or two off the ball than he should be. Look where, in this case, I believe that's Tony or Tamir Robinson is compared to him. A solid yard, almost a yard and a half shallower than Tyler Elsdon. As a linebacker, you should be 4 yards off the ball, and that's it. He's always lined up. There's plenty of other examples. I only show this one where he's 5 yards, even close to 6 yards off the ball, which some people say, oh, Cory, why does that matter? Franklin always says the little things matter. Then why are we allowing somebody to continue to line up out of position? So that's the first thing before this ball's even snapped. Secondly, it's going to be a running back draw. However, a linebacker's first step should always be a read step at 45 degrees. Tyler Elsdon's first step is backwards. I don't even know if it's backwards 45 degrees. That might be a straight, just back pedal. So he's backpedaling 45 degrees. His guard on the right side, so the left guard, is running at him right now, crossing the line of scrimmage and running at him. So all of his keys from the running back to the quarterback to the guard are all flowing to his left, and yet he is now facing in the right direction, still backpedaling. He takes another step before he then reads this play to come up, and now his offensive guard, his key, is a yard and a half down the field and about to set up this block. Pause it one more time. His read, that offensive guard, is now 1, 2, 3, 4 yards downfield. And the linebacker for Penn State is 6 yards from the line of scrimmage on a run play. On a run play. And has now finally decided to start closing in on the tackle. So before any physical attributes come into play, Shawn, we could line you up there, and at this point in the play, we could get you closer to the ball than what Tyler Elsdon's done. Before anything's even happened, we could have already gotten pretty much way closer. The worst case is, Shawn, if you're in the game, you get pancaked at the 25-yard line. And maybe you at least create a pile and the running back trips on you or something. Instead, and this is the worst part about it, he then attacks the wrong shoulder on this offensive guard that has completely walled him off perfectly. And this guy's off and running. This is against Ohio State. It's a touchdown, just by the way. Yeah. And it goes for a massive gain. So it doesn't make the tackle, attacks the wrong shoulder, doesn't even, I don't think, gets a hand on him. It just can't happen. This is just terrible. 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 And it might have been Tony Rojas over there instead of Robinson. And he had a little bit more things going on because he's got some receivers running at him. Tyler Elsdon should have been there. I mean, Rojas should have probably cleaned it up a little bit better. But Tyler Elsdon, that guard should never make it that far down the field. Tyler Elsdon should have been there. Just one of the many plays Tyler Elsdon struggled with. You can't put him out there against USC. You cannot put him out there against Ohio State. I don't know why, if we thought Anthony Specca was going to be a green light, why Anthony Specca isn't on the field at this point in the game. If you're trying to get reps for somebody that is going to contribute to the defense moving forward, Anthony Specca should be out there.
Yeah. We've talked since spring about our concerns with linebacker depth, and part of it is we know Elsdon's limitations. And then yeah, something that we got on last year was Elston also makes mental mistakes and is sometimes not always lined up correctly. And this is one of those moments. And you see, guys aren't always lined up correctly, but some guys are so athletic, it doesn't matter. Tyler Elston was not blessed with that athletic ability. So then so if you're not gonna like, do you remember Josh Hall at Penn State? Not Mike Hall, Josh Hall. And Josh Hall used to get criticized a lot because he was pretty slow. The thing about him though, he'd get like 10 tackles a game because, and we are gone. Okay, we're back. So my Josh Hall point. Josh Hall would get about 10 tackles a game because he was always lined up in the right spot. He always knew where to be. And again, now Big Ten football is a little different back then. It was more straight up and down. But this is just a straight up and down play. This is just, you could have ran this play in 2007, 2008. This is just it's nothing fancy going on here. So you combine the mental mistakes with the with not having the physical gifts, and you get Tyler Elston plays when he's not playing well. So it's not good. I think they will be they'll be hesitant to put a guy like Specka in over a guy who's been here a long time. And I get it. The logic is, well, I mean, if he's going to make the same mistakes as a freshman, we'll just put the freshman in. I hear you. But football coaches really don't think like that, unfortunately, 9 times out of 10.
Shawn, do me a favor and leave the call and come back real quick, just so our cameras aren't all messed up. Sure. That's my fault. Sorry. Sorry about that. We had a little technical difficulty there. Connor says, looks like me controlling the linebacker on. That's funny. All right. Thank you, Shawn. I don't know if that worked the way I wanted it to or not. I think it did. Yeah. Connor says on YouTube, looks like me controlling a linebacker on College Football 25. All right. I'm glad we got through that because that was hurtful. Let's go to the fan questions. Let it drive the rest of our show here. All righty. Let's start with and Kent. I think it was Kent. Was it Kent? I see Mighty Jew said hi. Mighty Jew, thank you for being here. Tim Ray asked about James meddling in the offense. We'll get to that question with one of our fan questions today. Kind of. Let's start with this question, though, Shawn. Mark Thomas says, through 5 games, what does the best version of Penn State look like? What half thus far was best for the offense? What half thus far was best for the defense? Shawn, do you want to take offense or defense? I'll take the other one.
Yeah, I'll take offense. I would probably say West Virginia the second half. I just thought they just were a total well-oiled machine in that half. It was pretty close there at halftime, but they just slammed the door on West Virginia. Now, not a very good defense we played, but to answer, and I'm not going to count Kent State, even though we didn't really even play that great against Kent State in the first half until the very end of it. But that was the most complete half of offensive football that we played so far this year, in my mind.
Yeah, defensively, I think it's a little bit trickier because you could pick any second half, in my opinion.
Yes.
UCLA, I guess they gave up a touchdown, so not that, but I'll just go Illinois.
Yeah, that'd be mine too.
Illinois, the best, I think, team on offense as far as ground and pound. They're ranked ahead of Michigan, if you care about the AP poll. I think Luke Altmaier presents some challenges. They have a good offensive line. They have some good running backs, and they have Brett Bielema as their coach that schematically can be challenging. So to shut them out in that second half, I think it was impressive, especially given the fact that the offense didn't do them that many favors. I think that was very impressive. So that's what it is. But I wanted to be very clear. We have not seen Penn State's best football yet. And I think we might have another question on that. But the best is, I think, yet to come for Penn State.
I think so too.
Let's go to this one because we kind of were talking about it just a second ago. This question here is from Brendan Malinovich, a longtime listener of the show. What are your feelings on the offensive line this week? Besides ESPN's top 10 block of the week, I felt they were a bit off. That being said, it was evident number 10 was missed, Nick Singleton. Has a different hit to the hole than number 13. Their styles complement each other. Wish number 25 got more chances. 25 being Quentin Martin Jr., which I didn't know that Quentin Martin was a junior. Quentin Martin only ended up with one carry. He did have a couple catches, which is very on par for what we thought Quentin Martin could be coming out as an athlete out of high school. Offensive line, in my opinion, had relatively one of their worst games. And I don't think it was bad or anything, but passing was meh. I was surprised how much that UCLA was willing to just play zone. A lot of teams are actually playing zone against Penn State. I think it was T. Frank who mentioned this on 3. A lot of teams are willing to play zone against Penn State, even in short yardage situations. I'm guessing because they're so worried about the run and they know that they need defensive backs to help commit. Because they run man beaters a lot of the time on third down and nobody's getting open because their defense is in zone. So anyway, struggling a little bit in pass protection, nothing crazy. I think I just saw Connor say Quentin Martin struggle with pass pro. That's normal for a true freshman as well. Wasn't their best performance, but I also think if they have Nick Singleton in this game, they probably run for 200 yards. There was a lot of massive holds that Kaytron Allen just can't quite hit the same way. And that kind of changes the complexion of this game. And there is another question on Nick Singleton, I think specifically, Shawn. So hold off on any Singleton talk, but other thoughts on the offensive line.
Yeah, I thought the line, it's kind of good that we're a little bummed about how they played because they weren't bad. And not being bad was considered good not too long ago here, as far as offensive lines go. And yeah, there were some times, that's a good point by Cory, that Kaytron hit some holes. But the thing with him is, and we love the guy, and the reason he's such a good compliment to Singleton is because he is the guy that's going to run through tacklers and break them and pick up extra yards. But yeah, it's no secret he doesn't have that extra gear. It's just not the kind of back he is, and that's fine. But yeah, there were some times that you watched a run and you thought, well, Singleton takes us at least 30 yards or maybe takes it all the way, where Kaytron would take it 12 yards, which good run, but it's not what we would get out of Singleton. And yeah, I think you said Connor on YouTube pointed out the pass pro struggles with Martin. Yeah, that's why I don't think you saw as much with him. Because he's got a lot to learn in pass blocking, which could be said about pretty much every running back that I've seen, every freshman running back that I've seen at Penn State, Saquon Barkley included. That's just something that comes along. Usually their other sophomore years, they're at Penn State, they're pretty good blockers at running back.
Well, since we're there, let's just go to this next question. This is from Matty Ice. Long-time listener to the show. Nick Singleton is a team MVP? Question mark? Or let me know how I read that terribly. Singleton is team MVP? Question mark. Offense just lacks that explosivity on the ground without him, And I feel like that changes a lot of things for the offense of what they can and can't do. Outside should be noted that it's not outside of the quarterback. Shawn, why don't you tackle this question? Then I just want to go on a little bit of an offensive tangent for a second about the identity I think that this offense plays with.
I like that. So Singleton the MVP. I mean, you can make a good case. I don't think he's the best player on the offense. I think that would go to Tyler Warren, personally. But is he the best weapon? He's the most explosive weapon for sure. I think Warren you're able to do a little bit more with, but running backs get more touches than tight ends typically. And he has that extra gear that nobody else in the offense outside of Omari Evans has. And Singleton does touch the ball a lot more. And then when you consider that this is, and I think Cory's going to get into this, a running team, yes, Nick Singleton is central to that. And having those explosive runs, in addition to Shawn Allen's bruising style, I mean, that's a perfect combination. I think the most overused, it's a little dated now, but from about 2005 to 2015, anytime you had a fast running back and a bruising running back, Cory, what would the inevitable comparison be?
Zach Zwinak, Bill Belton?
No, not Penn State's. No, that was Reggie Bush and Lendell White.
Oh, sorry.
Used to hear it all the
Same
time.
skill level. Same skill level.
Obviously. Obviously.
Sorry.
Used to always hear, Lendell White. They're like Lendell White and Reggie Bush. And it's like,
Thunder
but they're
Lightning?
not. But that is the style that Kaytron is the Lendell White to Nick Singleton's Reggie Bush.
They had a lot of comparisons on the broadcast to Franco Harris and Lydell Mitchell as well.
Yes. Yep.
For those that
probably the best
that
backfield
comparison
since
one. Yeah, they're getting close on the yardage.
Cenas is up there too, but yeah.
What about DJ Dozier and what's his face?
Blair Thomas. Yeah. Blair Thomas was only a freshman though when Dozier was a senior, I think. So, but where these guys, it's rare to see two guys come in together,
right,
and just complement each other so well, and seem to be so unselfish with it. It's just a rare thing with that.
So I just want to mention this. I tweeted this a little bit ago, and I think this is really starting to resonate with me more. I think about this. In a way, I think the Penn State offense is really a hybrid Michigan offense from last year. I don't think they're as much of the Michigan offense this year, but they're trying to do the same thing that basically has hurt their own defense so many times, which is spreading you out in order to make your linebackers and your nickels and your dime corners play in space, and saying our athletes are better than your athletes in space, but we still want to run the football. We just want to have more clear lanes to do so. And we want to spread you out, and it helps them obviously diagnose where blitzes are coming from and all those things as well. Penn State is a fun offense, but at the end of the day, they want to be a physical offense. They just want to do it in different ways. They want to send an offensive lineman in motion. They want to run a shovel pass to the tight end. They want to let the tight end run the ball. But at the core, their identity is going to be physical, but it's not ever going to be, fullback physical, goal line, I formation physical. But they want to be physical. They just want to do it in kind of a different way. And that complexion to me is very much like a Michigan hybrid offense that we've seen in previous years under Michigan. And I think it's ineffective. I mean, that's what has beat them at times. And also that is what has beat Ohio State at times. And so it's working, by the way. It's not the most pretty, but when you think about the identity of this team and also the surrounding characters, it's very similar to a lot of Michigan offenses. Michigan offenses, how many receivers can you name in the last 8 years, right? Like a handful. Ronnie Bell, I don't know.
Roman
Wilson. Peoples was decent.
Peoples Jones, yeah. Not a ton, though.
Not a ton. And in a way, although Trey Wallace I think is good, and I think Omari Evans is good, and they're going to flash, and Liam Clifford's going to flash, and whatever. They are fundamentally a similar offense in a sense of they are going to run the ball, have good running backs, and they're going to try to win up front. And I think it is working. The question is going to be, will it work against Ohio State? Do they have enough to push around Ohio State? Maybe not right away. Because, by the way, go back and look at those Ohio State-Michigan games. Michigan's not winning right in the beginning of those games. And in a sense, the slow start is kind of reasonable because, yes, teams are going to be able to be physical with you at the beginning of the games. Are they going to be physical with you in the fourth quarter, though? And that's what Franklin is kind of banking on. They're not going to be able to be that way. But are they going to be able to do that against Ohio State's the question. And not sure we're going to know the answer, but yet a quarterback is taking care of the football. You're able to run the ball well with two running backs. I mean, if the fans out there that wanted to see the fullback in Penn State offense, like this is as close as physical, grinded out offense you're going to probably get from James Franklin.
Yes, I thought they should have been trying to be like Michigan last year because they had the personnel to do it last year. But for reasons we didn't. It was kind of a bastardization of what we're trying to do. I think at times they tried it, but they just didn't stick to it, and then they got sidetracked, and it just looked messy. But yeah, there's a clear identity to this offense, and it's we're gonna come right at you and shove it down your throat. And
Jesus. Have you seen those TikToks where like the girls are responding to like the NFL commentators making all these like sexual innuendos? Like you just had like two back to back, like tough ones, Shawn.
Well, I mean, I think TikTok, it's gotten all our heads in the gutter. But yeah, this is what we wanted to be. This is what I wanted us to be. And I had a feeling that they would be a physical team. I think your Michigan point stands as well when you think about beating Ohio State. And it's been all about beating Ohio State since Franklin has been here, and he's only done it once. So we all know he's got to try to do it more. They actually designed the defense in order to beat Ohio State, and we've talked about this. And now I think they're trying to get the offense in order to do that as well. Important thing to keep in mind, another thing that Michigan had past 3 years is an elite defense. So they were able to have a kind of a slow start on offense, feel things out. And then as the game went on, their offense got better and picked it up. Could our defense hold Ohio State in check? Remains to be seen those first couple quarters.
Yeah. Good tangent.
We'll have an Ohio State preview, which we'll get into all this. I like it though. I like where your head's at with that.
Like that. We'll just answer this question since it's on that same kind of almost sneezed. Try not to sneeze. This question is from, I think, somebody new. DASNLPSU. Not sure what that stands for. But let us know. His question or her question. The blueprint to beat USC was used by Michigan, Minnesota, and Wisconsin. Same blueprint we use versus Illinois. Do we follow it?
I hope so. Yeah, because everybody knows that's the way you beat USC. Is just be physical at the point of attack, and hopefully they wear down as the game goes on. I mean, Michigan, somebody made the point, too, that Orgy had 40 passing yards and they beat Michigan. So they beat USC. So even though I respect USC a lot as an opponent, I think they're a good team. It's out there how you beat them, and I think we do have the team to do it.
Simple enough. All right, let's go to another fan question here. This is from Will Gamble. Very active on X. We appreciate it, Will. Sure you're listening right now. Was part of the lackluster performance due to the come down from playing a top 25 team at night in essentially a whiteout, ... energy, and or the fact that we have USC on the road next week? We played as vanilla on offense as possible. I think you're trying to say that UCLA was a trap game, and I think that's a fair statement, or a lull game at least. It's a valley. I think that's fair, which, by the way, Fox, you need to stop calling it Happy Valley, PA.
It's so annoying.
So stupid. Terrible. I think the first part of your question is correct. I do think there was a little bit of a lag, a little bit of a hangover coming out of this game. Noon kick against a not very good UCLA team. You are kind of looking ahead to the other California team in USC. I think that part's relatively true. I don't think I can subscribe to the USC, or excuse me, to the vanilla on offense as possible. You don't have Singleton, so that obviously changes your play calling a little bit. I would have loved to see Penn State throw the ball 40 times on Saturday, because you think you can win anyway. Why don't you just throw the ball a lot and see what happens? James Franklin's, you don't do that, right? You don't just go ahead and just try something for a game. I get why that doesn't happen. But, like, I would have loved to see Drew Aller throw the ball 40 times and just said, screw it. Let's just, throw it around the horn a little bit. I don't think they were, like, vanilla on purpose. I really don't agree with those things. I think Katron Allen is at his best running it up the middle. And so you want to win the game, keep yourself on schedule. Like, that's what you're going to do. I mean, they still ran a shovel pass. They still ran Bo Perbila. They still found interesting ways to get people the football. It just, they just didn't convert on all their opportunities, especially early in the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing with Franklin's teams that I've noted over the years is they don't really get caught looking ahead. But sometimes they do get caught looking behind, either in a positive way or a negative way. You think all the way back to 2016. Penn State beats Ohio State, and we are either losing or tied at halftime to a really bad Purdue team on the road in West Lafayette. So it's not unusual for them to look back at emotional wins or big losses. So I think that's kind of what happened here to an extent. I also disagree a little bit that we were vanilla. It's true we didn't throw the ball as much as we definitely could have. I thought we could have thrown it more. But I think their identity, I think they just stick to it. And they're like, this is who we are. We're not going to be a team that, if we could help it, throw the ball 40 times a game. We just don't want to do that. That's not going to be the team we're going to be. And by the way, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with having an identity that says this is who we're going to be, because we haven't had that you can make an argument since Joe Moorhead. You can make an argument. I don't know how true it is, but you can make an argument we haven't had a true identity since 2017 on offense. We've had decent offenses. We've done good things. We've had good years on offense, but it always just felt like we were just trying different things and reaching for things. It didn't always flow well, and not with this team. Not with this offense. And I hear you that it remains to be seen how good of an offense it is, but there's no question about it. We have an identity. And really, I don't think it's in Andy Kotelnicki's DNA to be vanilla. I just don't think he's capable of being vanilla on offense. So yeah, I don't really agree that we were vanilla per se on Saturday.
That's a good point. That's a great point. Jay says, I agree with throwing the ball. That's when we are at our best. Not having Anthony Dunca against USC will suck. Nolan Rucci has really struggled in pass protection. I believe. No, we have one more fan question. Sorry. One more fan question here. This is from Sam Williams. Sorry, I know this isn't very important. It just bugged me. What was up with the field? It looked the most brown and bare I've ever seen it. I'm going to pause for a second and say, if you're not subscribed to The Athletic, you should. Audra Snyder, although people think we may have had some sort of tiff on X this week, Audra Snyder is a fantastic writer, and of anybody, I would suggest you subscribe to her, because I think her stuff is fantastic. She had an article this week about Beaver Stadium's renovations, and one thing no one's talking about is the field and the field drainage and the integrity of the field has not been upgraded since its inception. And it's basically the what it's made out of. Its DNA is not what they would use nowadays, and that affects the field dramatically. And the drainage is a problem. In case you didn't know, Penn State College area got like 11 straight days of rain for like the last 2.5 weeks. And so there's a lot of rain. And I just cut my grass for the first time yesterday, and it's kind of brown, or at least underneath. So I don't know how much they had the tarp on. I don't know how much they were letting it breathe. I'm guessing it's not very easy. And oh, by the way, you've played 4 straight home games out of 5 weeks. So a lot of things kind of go into that. Good news is they're going to be off, and that field's going to have some time to breathe until they come back in a month. So I think the field's going to recover fine. I'd recommend you check out her article on that because I thought it was really good. And I thought it was a completely fair question. The field looked like dog crap. And we always kind of talk about this, Shawn, with the field. It's like we pride ourselves in having natural grass field, Kentucky bluegrass, and yet I don't think it's necessarily the best playing surface from a slips and falls perspective. And it doesn't necessarily always look great, especially at the end of the year.
Yeah, I think we upkeep it. Like if you look around teams in the Midwest or in the Northeast, nobody has grass except Penn State. Honestly, like Michigan doesn't have grass anymore. Ohio State doesn't have grass anymore. Notre Dame doesn't have grass anymore. They just have pretty much all gotten rid of it for the most part. Maybe Purdue still has grass. I think they may be the only other Big Ten team to have it. That's
I think Northwestern did on Ryan Field.
Yeah. And yeah, it's just a rare thing nowadays. And part of the reason is it is just tough to upkeep it here because we get so much rain in the fall. Also, a lot of stadiums, now Beaver Stadium, we don't really have this excuse. They have a lot going on. Like if you look at Heinz Field, for example, it's usually way more cut up than Beaver Stadium. And the reason is the Pitt Panthers play there, Steelers play there, and a lot of high school football is played there. So naturally, by the end of the year, it's going to get cut up. But Beaver Stadium really doesn't have that excuse. It's Luke Combs, and then we got a whole new field anyway after Luke Combs, and football team. And the football team only practices there, 2 or 3 times in the summer. So it's not like the football team's there every day practicing. They're not. They're down at Lash. But yeah, it is more cut up than it has been. I would also, I didn't know that with Audrey wrote, so that's very helpful to know with the renovations, drainage. Like I said, most years I think it actually looks pretty good, all things considered. But yeah, it looked pretty torn up. But I would think by the time of the Ohio State game, it's so weird that Ohio State's their next home game. By the time of the Ohio State game, it'll look better.
Yeah, for sure. Muddy Juju said Steelers pissed me off last night.
Oh yeah, that's a tough one for you guys.
Jay says, you said I was negative last week, and Drew shut me up after the first quarter. Thought he played really well. Just wanted to see more and stop taking him out on third downs for the Wildcats. So we've made a believer in Jay. Look at that progress.
And I agree with that. The bow package. We need to have another conversation about the bow package. It felt very forced on Saturday. That's another reason why I didn't think Annie Kotelnicki was vanilla, because we were still forcing the bow package.
That's right.
The bow package is stuff on film.
The bow package is clearly not going anywhere.
We put so much stuff on film for these teams. It's like watching a Spielberg movie during film probably for them.
There's no way they can go through it all. Shawn, I don't know if we should make this like a new segment on these Monday shows, but I just have some quick hitters that I wanted to hit in case I missed anything. I thought Deni Dennis Sutton and Carter are starting to play a lot better football. I wanted to mention just again, I think Vega and Dawkins are playing really well. I think Cooper Cousins is playing well when he gets in there really well. Oh, I also wanted to mention, I know that there was a penalty on Mari Evans' interception that Drew Aller threw, but I still think that was a terrible choice and a terrible ball. It wasn't egregious holding either.
It was questionable.
So I don't know exactly what happened there, but that was bad.
Yeah.
Katron Allen, I mean, he's so shifty and fluid, but just doesn't have that overall explosiveness. I think Liam Clifford's big day. We didn't talk much about it. I think the reason we didn't, 3 catches, 107 yards. I think the reason we probably didn't discuss it much on the show today is I don't think it's going to be something that happens very often. I think it's an anomaly. I'm not expected to see that ever again from Liam Clifford, and I know that's me hating on him, but I feel like it was circumstantial.
I gotta just say, Corey Lestochi, the biggest Shawn Clifford fan in the world.
Yeah.
So disrespectful, Liam Clifford. It's such a weird dichotomy you have with him.
The duality of man.
Yes, you're so hard on Liam all the time, and Shawn walks on water.
That's right. Well, you know, and the thing is, I'm a little brother guy. I'm a little brother guy through and through. You think I'd stick up for the little brother?
Yeah,
not so fast, my friend.
I'm the oldest of my family, and my name's Shawn.
Don't get me wrong. I'm happy for Liam Clifford.
Yes.
He had a big day, had some massive catches. Obviously, all 3 of his catches were huge. I just don't think it was anything more than circumstantial, and I think they tried to get Fleming and Clifford out there more again to make defenses have to think about a little bit more on what they're capable of doing, right? Because if you have Clifford out there and he doesn't have a game like this, how much do you really feel like you're worried about him if you're a defense next week?
Well, that's the positive thing, right? Because last year, no receivers ever did anything except KLS and Harrison Walls, and Harrison Walls was hurt half the year. And KLS gave up in the last month of the year.
I questioned why Bo Prabula never hands the football off when he runs the read option. He always pulls it.
Yep.
And then finally, this is completely bearing the lead. Penn State's got a new kicker. Ryan Parker
we do.
Kicks 2 field goals, 125, 28-yarder, 140-yarder. 40-yarder was tight, but he got it to go through. I think the ball's prettier off his leg. I don't know shit about kicking, but it looked better. Doesn't have as much power, I think, as Xander Zahadak, but it looks like a prettier, more controlled ball. And that's where we're at. So Franklin, in a way, kind of pulled a fast one on us during the radio show last week, was like, oh, I need you guys all to support Xander Zahadak. And he goes, yeah, I'm going to start Ryan Barker.
Support him from the bench.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Barker, it was funny, too, watching Franklin that they showed the replay after he made the kick. It was like we won the Super Bowl on the kick. He was so excited. And I think it was genuine excitement, too. Like, yes, I have a kicker going into USC next.
Yeah, I think Daniel Gallen from 24/7 Sports said it pretty good. Like, okay, it's good that Barker had this game, but now he needs to be able to stack these games the same way that Xander Zahadak made a field goal against Kent State, but then struggled or Bowling, whenever one he made a couple field goals.
I think he made a few, but
yeah, I think he had 2 against Bowling Green.
Yeah, they're actually big kicks looking back at it.
Yes,
but yeah, he struggled with consistency. And that's why he's on the bench. I feel you got to feel for Xander in a way. I mean, I know we're all really hard on him, but God, it stressed me to the high heavens being a kicker. I could never do it.
No, not at all. Shawn, any other final thoughts before we call this longer episode goodbye?
Yeah, I liked something that I think you want to watch as the year goes on. We lined Denaida Sutton and Abdul Carter up on the same side a couple times on Saturday. We lined Abdul Carter up inside, Denaida Sutton up outside. I thought it was a cool little wrinkle that was a little subtle. I don't think Joel and Gus caught it, but just something to watch for that I think you're going to see more and more as the year goes on. Somebody made a point during the game on Twitter too that it was kind of like Courtney Brown and LeVar Arrington used to do the same thing with them sometimes. So. Not saying those guys are the same, but it was the same style.
Whoa.
I just said they're not the same, but it's the same concept.
Whoa, Shawn. You know someone's going to be like, 1 star on Apple Podcast. This guy said that denied Dennis Sutton. And which, by the way, someone write us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Somebody listening to the YouTube show, go on Apple Podcasts, write us a 5-star review. We haven't had one in ages, so we'd love to read one on the show.
Also, some dude called me a weirdo like 3 times on Twitter on Saturday during the game.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I wasn't thrilled that we only beat a 1-14 by 16 points. It was something about like, well, in the NFL it's just about wins, and that's why it's better.
Oh yeah.
Okay, well then go watch the NFL. I'm aware of that. These are not professionals. This is not the same thing. So I don't know what you want me to tell you, buddy.
Yeah, and oh, by the way, I know that the playoff has expanded, but your seeds still matter.
Yeah.
And if you get a 5 seed versus an 8 seed, that's a completely, or God forbid, 5 seed versus a 9 seed, that's a completely different conversation.
Yeah. Do you want Miami or Alabama or Georgia or whoever to come up here in December, or do you want us to go down there?
Right.
Easy
Or
choice for me.
potentially getting like a Boise State followed up by like a 3 or 4 seed versus going on the road and then having to face the number 1 seed.
Yeah, it's a big difference. So we're still, style points still matter. They just don't matter as much as they did, but they still matter.
Absolutely. Hey, we got like 20 people watching live on YouTube right now. I don't know how many are on X. I think the stat I have on for X is a little bit questionable. Make sure you're following us on Twitter if you're watching there. If you're watching on YouTube, please make sure you've liked the video and subscribed. It's free to subscribe to the video. It only helps us to the channel, and make sure you like it. We will be back Wednesday night. I have confirmed first ever podcast host of mine, Ron Redden, who now works at Bleacher Report, will be on the show as the guest picker on Wednesday.
Nice.
That's all I have, Shawn. Do you have any final thoughts?
No, I think we're good.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for hanging out for an extra long show. We got a lot to talk about as we head into part 2 of the Penn State football season. For Shawn Kane, I'm Cory Lestochi. You've been listening to Hardcore Penn State Football.